Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat penny coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1 today, we're taking you on a journey through time to uncover the secrets of a small copper coin that's captured the attention of collectors all around the world, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny. And now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny, what's so special about it? But what if I told you that this single coin, easily overlooked by most, could be worth more than some luxury cars, or even a down payment on a house? Intrigued? You should be, because the story behind this penny is as rich as the coin itself. Let's rewind to the year 1944. The world was in turmoil, World War II was raging on, and the United States was pouring all its resources into the war effort. This included metals. Copper, in particular, was in high demand for ammunition, wiring, and military machinery. That's why, in 1943, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change. They began producing pennies out of steel coated in zinc instead of the usual copper, to conserve resources for the war. But 1944 was supposed to mark the return of the copper penny. The war was winding down, and the Mint went back to making coins from recycled shell casings, a brass alloy that closely resembled the original copper tone. Millions of these coins were produced, nothing unusual, right? Well, here's where things get interesting. While the U.S. Mint had switched back to copper in 1944, some leftover steel planchets from the previous year remained in the minting presses. A tiny number of these steel blanks were accidentally used in 1944 and stamped with that year's date and the mint marks of various locations. This resulted in a coin that wasn't supposed to exist, a 1944 penny made of steel. These accidental survivors are now among the most coveted error coins in the world. Now, most of these rare error coins were minted in Philadelphia, but an even fewer number were produced in Denver, carrying the small D mint mark below the date. That's where the 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny enters the spotlight. The Denver Mint was not known for producing many of these steel cents in 1944, which makes any surviving examples incredibly rare. And when I say rare, I mean ultra rare. We're talking about a coin that might not show up even once in a lifetime. The few that exist have become the holy grail of coin collecting, the kind of treasure that turns everyday collectors into legends, but rarity is only part of what makes this coin special. Let's talk about the design and the legacy it carries. On the front, you'll find the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of integrity and unity, framed by the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." Below him is the date, 1944, with the tiny D just beneath it. Turn it over, and you see two stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent, with United States of America just above, and E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one gracefully curved at the top. Of the simplicity of the design masks the incredible story it holds. This is not just a coin. It's a relic of wartime America, a reminder of the sacrifices and ingenuity of an era when even a penny had to pull its weight for the country. And for collectors, this isn't just about history, it's about rarity, condition, and the thrill of the hunt. Many Lincoln Wheat pennies from the 1940s are still in circulation, but coming across a 1944 D penny made of steel? That's like finding buried treasure in your pocket change. If you ever stumble upon a 1944 D wheat penny that feels lighter, looks silver instead of copper, and doesn't stick to a magnet, it could be the real deal. And if it's been preserved well, free of damage, with clear markings and strong features, then you just might be holding something incredibly valuable. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much could a rare 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny in steel be worth? A coin like this, due to its scarcity, historical value, and collector demand, can fetch a staggering $110,000. Yes, you heard that right. That little penny, often tossed aside or forgotten in a drawer, could be worth more than your dream car. So next time you're digging through your old coin jars, helping your grandparents clean out the attic, or browsing a local flea market, keep your eyes open. Because you never know when one of these tiny treasures might turn up and change your life. Top 2 that turns pocket change into history lessons, and sometimes, into something far more valuable. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of one of America's lesser known but incredibly fascinating coins, the 1949 Lincoln Wheat penny. Now, this coin may not be as famous as some others from the 1940s, but don't let that fool you. The 1949 Wheat penny is like a hidden chapter in a much larger story, a story of a nation recovering from war, rebuilding its economy, and laying the foundation for a new era. Let's set the scene. The year is 1949. World War II had ended just a few years earlier, and the United States was in the middle of a huge transformation. Soldiers had returned home. Families were growing. Industries were booming. And while big changes were happening across the country, small things like the pennies jingling in people's pockets were quietly telling their own stories. That year, the U.S. Mint produced millions of 1-cent coins featuring the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front. You've seen it 1,000 times, right? But did you ever stop to think about why Lincoln was chosen for the penny in the first place? Abraham Lincoln was the first historical figure ever to appear on a regular issue U.S. coin. His image was placed on the penny in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. That tradition continued into 1949, with the penny still proudly bearing his likeness, along with the words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." It was, and still is, a tribute to one of the most important figures in American history. Turn the coin over, and you'll find the classic wheat ears design. That's why these coins are often called wheat pennies. The two stalks of wheat represent prosperity and growth, surrounding the bold 1-cent and United States of America lettering. At the top, the phrase E pluribus unum reminds us that out of many, we are one. Simple? Yes. But that simplicity hides a world of complexity, especially when it comes to the 1949 wheat penny. You see, while the design may look the same across millions of coins, not all pennies are created equal. In fact, some of the rarest and most valuable coins look almost identical to the everyday ones until you take a much closer look. The 1949 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint has its own story, and each produced coins with tiny but significant differences. Most of these pennies were used in daily life, passed from hand to hand in grocery stores, gas stations, and school lunch lines. They were meant to be spent, not saved, and that's exactly what makes certain 1949 pennies so incredibly rare today. Most people never thought to preserve their change. After all, it was just a penny. But in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins that were never circulated, never tossed in a drawer or rattled around in a pocket, are worth far more than their worn-out cousins. And when you add minting errors into the mix, that's when things get really exciting. Some 1949 wheat pennies have off-center strikes. Others have doubled dies, where the design elements appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the minting process. And then there are coins struck on the wrong type of metal blank, extremely rare, but absolutely possible during that time. These unique variations can make a common coin suddenly become a collector's dream. Combine that with a coin in near-perfect condition, what collectors call mint state, and you've got something truly special. And now here's the part you've been waiting for. Let's talk about what this all means in terms of value. Imagine stumbling upon a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny tucked away in a forgotten box, untouched by time. The date is crisp. The wheat stalks are sharp. Every detail on Lincoln's face is clear, as if it were just minted yesterday. Maybe it even has a rare error or unusual strike that sets it apart from the rest. That kind of coin isn't just a collector's item, it's a piece of American history. And the market is ready to pay big for it. So, how much could a single 1949 wheat penny be worth if it's in pristine condition and has one of those rare characteristics? Well, brace yourself, because the answer might just blow your mind. A flawless, high-grade 1949 Lincoln wheat penny with the right features can be worth as much as $95,000. That's right. 1 cent worth nearly $100,000, all from a coin most people wouldn't think twice about. So next time you come across an old penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Because you never know, you might be holding a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Top 3 where small pieces of metal hold big stories and even bigger surprises. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a coin that many people overlook, but collectors absolutely love, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. It may seem like just another old penny, but don't be fooled. This little copper coin carries with it the spirit of post-war America, a few fascinating secrets, and in rare cases, a value that could absolutely change your life. Let's take a trip back in time. The year is 1950. America is entering a new decade. The Second World War is in the rearview mirror, and the country is riding a wave of optimism. The economy is booming, families are growing, suburbs are expanding, and innovation is everywhere, from televisions to automobiles. In the middle of all this excitement, the Denver Mint quietly struck millions of pennies. To the average person, they were just part of everyday life. A piece of candy, a payphone call, maybe a newspaper. Just 1 cent, but in the world of coin collecting, not all pennies are created equal. And the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is proof of that. Now, let's take a closer look at what makes this coin so special. On the front, of course, is the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln, stoic, strong, and timeless. This design had already been in use for over 40 years by 1950, but it still carried the same powerful message of unity and leadership. To the left of Lincoln is the word liberty. To the right, the date, 1950. And just below that? A tiny letter D, standing for Denver, the mint where this particular coin was produced. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by two iconic wheat ears, curving gracefully around the words 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the classic phrase E pluribus unum reminds us that out of many, we are one. It's a simple, elegant design. But what makes certain 1950 D pennies so incredibly valuable has less to do with what you see and more to do with what lies beneath the surface. You see, while millions of these coins were minted, very few have survived the decades in excellent condition. Most were circulated, passed through countless hands, lost in couch cushions, dropped on sidewalks, and stashed away in dusty jars. Over time, they were scratched, worn, and forgotten, but every once in a while, a 1950 D wheat penny turns up in near-perfect condition. Sharp edges. Glossy luster. All the original details perfectly preserved, like it was frozen in time. And that's when things get exciting, but wait, it gets better. There's a special category of coins that collectors dream about. Coins that were minted with slight imperfections. A doubled die. An off-center strike. A misaligned planchet. These rare minting errors, though accidental, are highly sought after. Why? Because they make a common coin suddenly one of a kind. And when a 1950 D Lincoln penny has both a pristine condition and a rare error? That's when you've hit the jackpot. And here's something most people don't know. During the early 1950s, coin collecting was starting to pick up serious momentum in America. People were beginning to realize that coins could be more than just money, they could be history in your hand. But back in 1950, not many people were thinking to save their pennies in mint condition. That's what makes high-grade 1950 D wheat pennies so rare today. They're not just hard to find, they're almost impossible to find in perfect shape. Imagine finding one of these coins tucked away in an old collection, hidden in your grandparents' attic, or resting at the bottom of a forgotten piggy bank. It looks ordinary at first glance, but when you inspect it closer, you realize the surfaces are flawless. The color shines. The details pop. And then you spot a rare doubling on the date, or a die crack, or an off-center stamp. That's when your heart starts racing, because that's not just a coin. That's a treasure. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much could a rare 1950 D Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth in today's collector market? If you're lucky enough to find one in exceptional, uncirculated condition, with a strong strike, full detail, and possibly a unique minting error, it could fetch a jaw-dropping value of $90,000. Yes, you heard that right. One small copper penny. Worth nearly the price of a brand new luxury vehicle. All because of rarity, condition, and a bit of history etched in metal. So, next time you find yourself going through an old coin collection or even just sorting your spare change, don't ignore the pennies, especially the ones from 1950. Because hidden among them could be a piece of American history, and maybe even a small fortune. Top 4 Journey takes us deep into the heart of American history, right into the year 1945, when the world was changing, a war was ending, and one small coin quietly became a collector's dream. We're talking about the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance, it may look like just another old coin, but this one holds secrets that most people miss, and one of them could be worth a fortune. So don't blink, because by the end of this video, you'll know why a coin worth just 1 cent could be hiding a value far beyond anything you'd expect. Let's rewind the clock to 1945. It was a monumental year. World War II was finally drawing to a close. Soldiers were coming home. Families were reuniting. The entire nation was filled with hope, relief, and the promise of a new beginning. While the world was focused on peace treaties and rebuilding, the United States Mint was hard at work producing coins for daily use, including 1-cent pieces that would soon become legendary among collectors. Enter the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin continued a design that had already become iconic across America. On the obverse, or front side, you'll find the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. His portrait had been used since 1909, and by 1945, it was more than a symbol, it was a reminder of strength, unity, and leadership through some of the nation's darkest times. Look closely and you'll see the words, "In God We Trust," arched above Lincoln's head. To the left, liberty. To the right, the year 1945. And depending on where the coin was minted, you might also see a small letter below the year. A D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter at all, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over and you'll be greeted by two wheat stalks curving along the sides of the words 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design, often referred to as the wheatback, was in use from 1909 to 1958 and became a classic symbol of American currency. But here's the twist: while millions of these coins were produced in 1945, not all of them were created equal. Most were used in everyday transactions. They were handed over at grocery stores, slipped into lunchboxes, or dropped into piggy banks. Over time, they became scratched, faded, and worn. They were tossed in drawers or forgotten at the bottom of dusty jars. But a tiny handful of these coins had a different fate. Some 1945 pennies escaped circulation entirely. They were set aside, protected, and preserved. They remained untouched by time, and today, they are shining examples of mint state perfection. These are the coins that collectors dream about, because when a coin from 1945 is found in near-perfect condition, with sharp details, glowing luster, and no signs of wear, its value skyrockets. And that's not all. Among these rare survivors, there are even more elusive versions, error coins. These are the pennies that were struck with small mistakes at the mint: a doubled die, an off-center strike, a repunched mint mark, or a coin stamped on the wrong metal planchet. These errors weren't meant to exist. They slipped through the cracks, unnoticed at the time. But today, they're pure gold to collectors. Even something as subtle as a slight variation in the spacing of the letters or the shape of the mint mark can turn a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find. And when that happens, the value can shoot through the roof. Now think about this: most people have seen a 1945 penny at some point. They show up in old collections, estate sales, antique shops, and even inside old coffee cans tucked away in garages. But most people don't know what to look for. They glance at the coin, see the date, shrug, and move on. But what if, just what if, you looked a little closer? What if that coin you almost tossed away was one of the few still in pristine condition? What if it had an extremely rare error that no one noticed for decades? What if the coin in your hand, something that once bought a piece of candy, could now buy you a car, or even more? Because here's the moment you've been waiting for: a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. With all the right characteristics: mint state condition, perfect detail, rare errors, and historical significance, can be worth as much as $105,000. Yes. A single penny. Worth over $100,000. So the next time you come across a penny from 1945, don't just brush it off. Examine it. Study it. Treasure it. Because it might just be one of the rarest coins of its kind, and if you're lucky enough to have one of those ultra-rare examples, you could be holding more than just history. You could be holding a hidden fortune. Top 5. Hey there, coin collectors, history lovers, and hidden treasure seekers. Welcome back to the channel where we turn pocket change into powerful stories, and everyday coins into potential gold mines. Today's video is all about a coin that's often passed over, tossed aside, or forgotten, but it might just be one of the most valuable pennies you'll ever come across. We're talking about the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Sounds ordinary, right? But don't let the date fool you. This little copper coin holds a world of history, some fascinating quirks, and for a lucky few, a life-changing surprise. Let's jump into the story behind this intriguing coin and find out why this penny, yes, this 1-cent piece, might be worth a whole lot more than you ever imagined. The year was 1954. America was booming. The war was behind us, rock and roll was on the rise, and people were buying homes, raising families, and filling their pockets with pocket change that seemed, well, ordinary. But hidden in that sea of copper was a coin that would eventually stand out to collectors around the world. The Lincoln Wheat Penny had already been in circulation for decades by 1954. It first appeared in 1909, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first American coin to feature a real person, and the public loved it. By the time 1954 rolled around, the design was still going strong. On the obverse, the front, you'll see Lincoln's familiar profile, facing right. Above his head, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word liberty. And to the right, the date 1954. Just below that? A tiny D. That's the Denver Mint mark, and it means this coin was struck in Denver, Colorado. Flip it over and you're greeted by the classic wheat ears design that gives the wheat penny its name. Two curved stalks of wheat on either side of 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, e pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one. Simple. Elegant. Timeless, but the real story begins when you start to look beyond the design. Most 1954 Lincoln wheat pennies were used in everyday life. They went from grocery store counters to gas station attendants, passed from hand to hand in diners, bus stations, and corner shops. They were spent, dropped, and pocketed thousands of times. And because of that, most of them are worn down, scratched up, and far from rare, but not all of them. Some 1954 wheat pennies were never circulated. They were stored in rolls, kept in collections, or forgotten in mint sets untouched for decades. These coins are what collectors call mint state. Crisp details. Sharp edges. Bright luster. Practically flawless. And then there's the rarest of the rare mint errors. Now, during the 1950s, the US Mint was producing coins at lightning speed. Mistakes happened. And while quality control caught most of them, a few slipped through the cracks. That's when the magic happens for collectors. Some 1954 wheat pennies were struck off-center. Others have doubling, where parts of the design appear twice, slightly offset. Some were even struck with repunched mint marks, where the small d below the date was punched more than once. And on very rare occasions, a coin was struck on the wrong metal blank entirely. These kinds of errors are like lightning in a bottle. They're freak accidents that become incredibly valuable over time. Combine one of these rare minting mistakes with a coin in pristine condition, and you've got something truly special. Not just a penny, but a historical artifact. A collector's prize. A potential jackpot. But here's the kicker: even among coins without errors, a 1954 penny in exceptional, uncirculated condition can be incredibly valuable. Why? Because so few have survived in that state. Most were worn down, damaged, or tossed aside. The few that remain perfectly preserved are now being hunted by serious collectors and investors around the world. So where might you find one of these treasures? Sometimes they turn up in the most unexpected places: old cigar boxes, dusty attic jars, forgotten dresser drawers. Some are found in inherited coin collections, sitting quietly for decades until someone finally realizes what they've got. The key is to look closely, pay attention to condition, and know exactly what to search for. And now, you've been patient, and it's time for the moment of truth. You're probably wondering, what could this old penny possibly be worth? Well, here's your answer. A 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, in flawless condition, with the right features and preserved like the day it left the mint, could be worth as much as $88,000. Yes. You heard that correctly. A 1-cent coin worth $88,000. So before you pass over that old penny, take a closer look. Because what looks like pocket change might just be your golden ticket. Thanks for watching, and if this story got your curiosity going, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another hidden treasure. We've got plenty more coin discoveries coming your way, from nickels to dimes, and maybe even one that's been sitting in your own collection all along. Until next time, happy hunting, and keep an eye on your change. You never know what's waiting to be found.